We are talking Stanley Cup Finals and the best ways to bet the rematch between the high-flying Edmonton Oilers and those greasy goaltender battering Florida Panthers. Ninja here from OddsShark. And joining me from OddsShark is Gavin, Keel, and among many other credits, player prop writer for props.cash. It is Tyson Cole, a.k.a. at Spittin Picklets. Guys, lots to talk about here, of course, and we'll get to some picks for Conn Smythe for the cup at the bottom. But let me just rewind a little bit to the handshake line from around 1 year ago in the Stanley Cup Final. Steve, go ahead and roll that real quick.
Really good series, too. We'll see in the finals next year. You guys are too good.
Some prophetic words from Tkachuk to Stu Skinner 1 year ago. Tyson, let me start with this. Is this a rematch that the Edmonton Oilers would have been relishing, or do you think they maybe wanted someone else from the East?
I definitely think they wanted a rematch. I mean, you know the competitive nature of McDavid and Draisaitl. They're like, hey, you stole that from us last year. We're going to come get it back this year. And that's exactly what happened. And I got to say, Matthew Tkachuk in that handshake line, he was like, oh, yeah, we'll see you next year. We'll see you next year. They remember that. They're like, okay, they want us next year. Okay, let's go get it and let's go bring it to them. So I definitely think that was a matchup that they wanted, of course, to get that revenge, I guess. But I mean, if Montreal was in it, they'd probably be happy too.
Definitely. There's definitely something different, at least from when I'm watching Edmonton. There's something different about the team this year. But, Gav, how big a blow is the Zach Hyman injury to Edmonton's chances? We don't need to get into your picks or anything, but he's sort of made, for a series against the Panthers, given the physical nature of his play. You know, he's throwing the body so liberally in the playoffs, 10 hits in game 3 against Dallas, for example. And, you look up and down this roster among the forwards, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins playing absolutely out of his mind. And then they can go ahead and dress a guy like Jeff Skinner in that decider where he chips in with a goal. But is there a way that Edmonton can survive this without Zach Hyman?
Definitely. I think it is a big blow, but maybe not as big as people kind of say in the media or on Twitter. Don't get me wrong. He scored 50 goals, right? He is a great player. He's leading the playoffs in hits, but the luxury with Edmonton and what we've seen through them through these playoffs this year is the depth that they have. We saw last night against Dallas in game 5, Corey Perry stepping up with Connor McDavid on that line. I guess my main point in this sense would be that, whoever's filling in there is slotting in next to Connor McDavid. I think that is, no other team can do that. No other team can say that. You could probably strap Tyson here up on McDavid's wing, and I think you could put him in front of the net and he'd pot a couple in. Obviously, you're still not going to have Zach Hyman, great forechecker, great player, but I don't think it's as crucial as, now they have Ekholm back, but if they lost one of those defensemen or something, I think that'd be much worse.
It's been wild watching Corey Perry sort of roll back the years here and chipping in a major way, being alongside Connor McDavid in that series against Dallas at the very least. But Tyson, it's also been insane watching Stuart Skinner in this playoff run. A complete Jekyll and Hyde scenario here. 11 goals against, way back when in those opening 2 games against LA. Had to come back against Vegas. But he's really, really playing well. And even looking confident doing so. I know the blue line depth has been bolstered by Edmonton, and they're looking really good on that front. But Tyson, are you trusting Skinner going into this series against the Panthers, or perhaps you're expecting a bit of regression from Stuart Skinner?
Oh, that's such a tough question because if you look at his game logs this postseason, it's either he allows 1 goal or gets a shutout, or it's a complete blowout. Outside of obviously last night when he only allowed 3. But I'd set it at a 5. I mean, I like the way his confidence, you watch him down the tunnel walking into the game against in all of the series in Dallas. He walked with some swagger, some confidence that you never really saw. And that's probably riding the high off the Vegas series. And now you see him coming into Florida. It's okay, everybody's hyped up for that rematch. Okay, it's our turn now. This is our game. But will he be able to play the same as he did? Can he match the confidence level against a much more difficult opponent? I'm not sure. I would set it maybe at a 5. I kind of want to see how he looks game 1 because let's not forget, like, wasn't great in the first 3 games when they lost all of them last year in the Stanley Cup Final. So it'll really depend on game 1 for me. So I'll set it at a mid-5.
I got to ask you the same question, Gav. Like, you panned, and deservedly so, Stu Skinner all playoff run last year. But there's something different with the way he is in the blue paint this year. Like, where, on a scale of 1 to 10, like, how much do you trust this guy going into the Cup Final?
Yeah, I'm right there with Tyson. Like, last year it was negative trust, sub-0. I'm at a 5. Like, it is that Jekyll and Hyde thing. Like, you don't know what you're going to get with him. Like, yeah, he's been great, but we've also seen just, 20 days ago, or maybe a bit longer now, but, pretty horrible goaltending. And we have Calvin Pickard in net. People wondering, like, so many question marks about the team. So for me, as much as I can do is a 5. Like, I hope he's great. I want the Oilers to win, but you also have to factor in that we have Sam Bennett on the other side that could easily just take him out.
Yeah, that's what I was alluding to at the beginning, that Griefs bag there. But I want to talk about both these teams, and I want to task you guys with one each. And Gav, I'll start with you. Talk to me about Florida. They brought in some big names, into a roster that was already the Cup champion. But what do the Panthers need to do if they're going to lift the Cup again? They already know Edmonton's DNA. They're the kind of the polar opposite as to what Edmonton wants to do on the ice. But what is it that the Cats have to do here if they want to repeat?
I think it's pretty simple for them. I don't think it's the same way on the Edmonton side, but for Florida, it's just sticking to what they do. We've seen it throughout, like, all 3 of these playoffs right now. Like, they probably would have already won 2 straight if they weren't so injured against Vegas a couple years ago. But they're just playing fast, physical, like borderline psychotic hockey, simply put. Like, their forecheck puts everyone in trouble. They're absolutely relentless. And like you said before, they're just dirt bags. They've really found the way, and you're hearing all these coaches say right now that they're the standard. They're getting contributions all throughout the lineup. Their third line is absolutely massive. Luosterainen, Lundell, and Marchand. Like, that line's been incredible, completely dominated the Leafs. So for me, the main thing for them, it sounds basic, generic, but this is what they are. We know what they are. And that's just sticking to what they do, which is fast, physical, and psychotic.
How about on the other side here, Tyson? If Edmonton is going to be that first Canadian team since way back when in 1993 to win the Cup, what do you need to see from them? They almost pulled off the trick last year by coming back from down 3-0, but it looks like a bit of a mature team. Like I said, like, that blue line is shored up a bit more, but what do the Oil need to do here?
I kind of have the same question. Just stick to their same answer. Stick to their game. Like, I don't know what changed after those first 2 games in LA, but since then they've been on a roll. What have they lost? 2 games since then? And the big difference is the depth that the Oilers have now. Like, you have a guy like Trent Frederick, Corey Perry step it up, but now he's in the top 6. You have, like, contributions from Connor Brown when he's in, Matthias Janmark, Adam Henrique. I mean, Podkolzin, an ex-Canuck, has been pretty good for them too. Like, they didn't have that last year. It was really pretty much just McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman. And now, like, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins just took over a series last against Dallas. So their depth, they just need to continue to play as well as they are. And there's no reason that they're going to slow down. Plus, Matthias Ekholm coming back, that's huge. I mean, I say he's their best defenseman, even ahead of Bouchard, just all around. So that's just a huge confidence boost. Like, hey, if I get beat, I know I've got a guy back there that's going to be able to defend them off. So I think, just stick to their game. Like, they've got the 2 best players in this series. So and they haven't needed to rely on them necessarily. Like, they still lead the league in points for the playoffs, but not by, like, a considerable margin like they were last season. So, I mean, just continue with the depth scoring and hopefully they can get it done.
Yeah, I want to add on a bit here too. Like, I'm with Tyson. Like, they do need to do a lot of things. And he mentioned his Canucks, so I'm going to tie in the Leafs naturally. I think they got to do, like, the Leafs didn't overcome Florida. Edmonton did this last year in the playoffs, in the Stanley Cup Final, but you have to be patient against the Florida Panthers. You have to capitalize on rush chances. They can't get ahead of themselves. I think that's one thing they have going for them right now is they have the depth contributing. So it's not going to be more of a scenario like last year where McDavid and Draisaitl are dead trying to drag this team across the finish line when they're trying to do everything. I really liked how they looked in game 5 last night. They were really patient. They're going to need to keep doing that to beat Florida.
Florida also scores in bunches. So to be able to stop the bleeding, like after they score, don't like stick to your system. Don't allow them to get that quick goal, because you saw exactly that happen against the Hurricanes. They weren't able to stop the bleeding. They got one. They tied the game real quick, and then they took the lead after that in game 5. So as long as they can hem it down defensively, don't let Stuart Skinner get in his head, then I think they got a good shot.
One of the themes that we've talked a number of times already here on this video is depth. And, you know, we all know the McDavids, we all know the Dreisaitl's, we all know the Tkachuks, we all know the Brad Marchands. But looking at this series, and maybe for bettors out there looking for somebody else on player prop markets in a given game, whether it be one, whether it be game 5, whatever the case may be, who is an X factor? And Gav, will start with you. Who is an X factor in this series that, you know, could make a difference on the ice and at the sports book?
Yeah, for the Edmonton side, like I didn't go really player prop route here, but just Ekholm. Tyson alluded to him. He just came back, only played 15 minutes in game 5, but he's going to ease into that. But that is absolutely massive. Like on Edmonton, their one true glaring weakness, like aside from goaltending, is definitely their defense on paper, at least. Ekholm, like Ty said, is their number one defenseman, bar none. Like I think that is absolutely massive for the Oilers to get this back. We've seen them do just fine without him in these playoffs, but to get him back in the biggest moment, I think is absolutely crucial. For the Panthers, I would look anyone on that third line, Marchand, Lundell, Luosterainen. They've been incredible. Like they single-handedly beat the Leafs, to be honest. Like it wasn't really much of Barkov. It wasn't much of Tkachuk. Yes, they were shutting the top guys down on either side, but so was this third line. They were shutting down Matthews whenever they had their home matchup and they could pick the lineups, and they're just outscoring as well. So they're limiting every team that they've played. They outscored the Leafs 6-2 at 5-on-5, dominated all the advanced analytics, expected goals for, shot share. Same with Tampa, same with Carolina. They outscored Tampa 5-0 at 5-on-5. So that's going to be huge. And any way you can target them at the sportsbook, I would.
It is a good point, though, Gav. Even not just that series against the Leafs, but even against Carolina, it was a lot of those bottom 6 forwards, and even some of those defensemen were the ones that were chipping in with goals. So potentially an opportunity there if you're going to bet anytime goal scorer markets, on the Panthers side. There is going to be some value there. But Tyson, over to you now. Who do you think could prove to be an X factor there in the Stanley Cup Final here?
One from each team. I'll go with Vander Kane for the Oilers, because he's kind of the guy that is on the Oilers to get under your skin. Him and Corey Perry. He's got to bring the physicality now that Hyman's out. Hyman led with 111 hits in the playoffs, and I mean, that cleared last year's total as well, and he didn't even make it to the Cup Final this year. So he's got to bring the physicality. He's going to be on a line with Draisaitl for, I believe, because that's how they ended it. And just him contributing offensively is going to be so important. Getting under the skin of the Panthers, which is pretty hard to do, but if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Kane. And kind of the same type of player on the Panthers, I'm going to say Matthew Tkachuk. I know he's one of the best players. He's got 16 points, one off the team lead, but you haven't really seen him take over a game. He kind of started slow coming back from injury. He does have the points to show for it, but I don't remember him like making a statement on a game, taking a game over. So he's going to have to do that. And I mean, he's an ex-Calgary Flame. He knows how to get under these Oilers' skin. So it's got to be him if they got another shot at going back to back.
It's a good point. Kachuk's kind of been doing it a bit more quiet than we've been used to seeing from him, especially on this stage. Let's talk Conn Smythe real quick here before we get into what you guys expect from the Stanley Cup Final. Some good value once again here in Conn Smythe odds. McDavid sort of leading the way here, plus 110 as you see. This is the Friday before game 1. Bobrov there, plus 250. Barkov, plus 430. Draisaitl, plus 850. Then you get into some really good value. Like Tkachuk is there, 23-1. Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand, like Carter Verhaeghe at plus 6,000. Real good value. Gav, I'll start with you. Any thoughts on somebody, you know, that you expect to win the Conn Smythe, and then maybe a guy a bit further down that might be worth a sprinkle at the sports book?
Yeah, well, we'll start with the long shot. And I know we talked about trust. I actually think this is great value. Stuart Skinner plus 11,000. Some people might be laughing and smirking, but like you can't deny what he's been doing, right? Like I know it's only 7 game sample size that I want to pick from here, but since he came back in for Calvin Pickard, 5-1 record, 944 save percentage, 1.41 goals against average, and 3 shutouts. Like, how can you deny that? And I think if you believe the Oilers are going to win the Stanley Cup, they're going to need huge performances from Stuart Skinner. So I think there's tremendous value there. The one where he is like, yeah, the voters are just, the McDavid narrative. He finally gets the Stanley Cup, so votes might go his way. But McDavid hasn't had a world beater type playoffs. I know it's crazy to say he still has 24 points through these playoffs so far, but it's not quite on the same scale as last year. But if there's anyone in a long shot, plus 11,000, I think is pretty good bang for your buck. If you want to look at the chalkier guys, like I think Draisaitl, definitely still more value though, like plus 1,000. He has 1 less point than McDavid. So I think if he has a big series, that's another good angle to look at. Panthers' sake, like Barkov, Bobrovsky, those are the only really 2 I can see. Like Bobrovsky, even for me, it's like similar to Skinner. Like he started off kind of slow and then has been on a tear. Mind you, I think we're all discrediting what he had to do against Carolina, but I think when you look at Barkov at plus 430, he's putting up points and having the toughest matchups every night. So I think that's something to consider.
And he'll have his hands full in the Stanley Cup Final, no doubt. Tyson, what about you thinking about Conn Smythe here?
Well, I like Draisaitl plus 1,000 odds, like Gavin said. 1 point less than McDavid. If he scores a bunch of goals in this run, why can't it be him? Plus McDavid won last year. I would take the value there. I do have a question for you, Gav, though. What does Stuart Skinner have to do to beat out McDavid and Draisaitl in these Stanley Cup Finals to win the Conn Smythe?
I would say like this sounds crazy, but
4 shutouts?
No, I'd say like 2 or 3 shutouts. I think 2. I think 2 is possible. I think that's what it would take though. Like it would have to be unbelievable. Like a goalie hasn't won the Conn Smythe. Well, I guess Vasi won it, but then like Jaguar won it whenever he didn't even win before in like the early 2000s. So
Tim Thomas won it in 2011 against the Canucks. Broke my heart, but whatever.
Oh yeah. I didn't want to bring that one up, but yeah, it would have to be something like 3 shutouts. But at plus 11,000, throw $10 on it, and you could be quite the happy camper.
Yeah, not bad value. If I am in a bet on the Conn Smythe, I would probably take Draisaitl for the reasons that we outlined. But like I said, kind of tying into the X factors, what do you guys think about Matthew Tkachuk? 2,300. He's only 1 point back of Barkov. Same kind of narrative as Draisaitl, only 1 point back. If he does take over this series and has a bunch of points, like why couldn't it be him? And that's pretty good value, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just like the worry of, he hasn't looked like a monster. Like he hasn't been scoring really, or like when he does score, it's a tap in, like, or he's just been picking up assists. So I think just that is like where the line is, because people are like, he's not healthy. He's not hurt there and expecting, but it totally is in the realm of possibility that he does go off in the series. Like it could be, he's just been managing this injury throughout the playoffs, and he's going to step up in the biggest moment.
I just think that it's a lot closer than the odds should indicate. Like I understand Bob should be the leader, but like I don't think there should be a 2,000 difference between Barkov and Tkachuk.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's finish it up here with your picks and your best bets for the Stanley Cup. And Tyson, I'll start with you. What are you looking at betting here in the rematch between the Cats and the Oilers?
Well, I think it's Oilers' year, so I would definitely side with them, but I don't want to play them at the minus 120 line. No real value in that. I would look at, and I know it's not that much, and I just said about Draisaitl winning the Conn Smythe, but if you really think the Oilers are going to win, just take McDavid to win the Conn Smythe at plus 110. You're getting a little bit of a better price. You love to see a plus sign. And it's probably going to be McDavid if they win the Cup, so why not take the extra 30 points there and get some plus money?
Gav, how about you?
I found a greasy one. It's Corey Perry to score 2+ goals at plus 160. I mentioned him before when we were talking about the Zach Hyman injury, but now Perry is playing on McDavid's wing. He's playing power play 1. Going to be in that net front presence. We just see McDavid bounce pucks off guys like that all the time. Perry has 7 goals in 16 games so far in these playoffs, and he scored at least 2 goals in every single playoff series so far. So I think this is just tremendous value. He has experience. Corey Perry has over 20 or 28 games played in the Stanley Cup Finals alone. He's been in, 5 of the last 6 Stanley Cup Finals now. So he has the experience, and it's just 2 measly goals. I think he can get it done. In terms of who's winning, I hate to do this, but I can't bet against the Panthers right now. I think a lot of people have tried to do that throughout the playoffs, maybe not as they've went on, but a lot of people forget, had them losing to Tampa in the first round. So they've given me no real reason to fade them now. And I think what's important to note too, and goes into my decision is we talk about all these things that Edmonton needs to do to win the cup, which is, Skinner needs to be great. McDavid and Draisaitl need to take over. They need to get depth scoring. We talk about Florida. It's just play how they've been playing, right? I don't think we're asking really anything crazy from Florida, or you need to see anything that we don't see on a night in, night out basis for them to win. So ultimately at the price, when it's a pick 'em essentially for me on FanDuel Canada right now, I just have to go with the Panthers.